It began not with a roar, but with a whisper, a quiet, insidious shift in the very fabric of the game we thought we knew, a change so profound, so deeply etched into its essence, that its origins often feel lost in the mists of collective memory. No one saw it coming, not truly, until it was too late, until the familiar contours of competition blurred into something unnervingly alien. Have you ever truly pondered what happens when an unknown variable, a seemingly benign anomaly, enters a perfectly understood equation, not merely to solve it, but to fundamentally rewrite the very laws governing its existence, to unravel the foundational truths upon which an entire universe was built? Remember the echoes of a game long past, the one played beneath the rim, where titans clashed and giants roamed the painted wilderness, their dominion absolute and unquestioned? Do you recall the rhythmic thud of the post-up, the primal grunt of contested layups, the slow, methodical, almost ritualistic dance of 2 points earned through sheer brute force and close-quarter combat, a testament to proximity and power? Was there not a certain predictable comfort in that deliberate cadence, a sturdy rhythm born of gravity and physical imposition, where the long shot was invariably perceived as a desperate gamble, an anomaly rather than an aspiration, a Hail Mary born of necessity, not design? Did we not, in our quiet, collective certainty, believe the game's essence was immutable, carved into unyielding stone tablets by those who came before, its core tenets as unchanging as the very ground beneath our feet, forever bound by the arcs of a closer trajectory and the gravitational pull of the hoop? But what if that comfort was merely a lullaby, a deceptively soothing melody masking an approaching storm, a prelude to an unraveling? What if, from the unassuming collegiate courts of Davidson, a different kind of murmur began to spread, a nascent vibration too faint for most to register, a subtle discord in the symphony of tradition? Did we truly grasp the insidious implications when a slight figure, an improbable silhouette against the towering backdrop of established norms, began launching projectiles from distances once deemed ludicrous, not as a desperate act of defiance, but as a casual, almost terrifyingly confident assertion of a new will? Did we not, in our comfortable ignorance, dismiss it as a momentary aberration, a statistical fluke, a fleeting novelty act destined to fade into the forgotten annals of, what if, another fleeting star extinguished by the harsh light of professional expectation? Were we not deaf to the faint, unsettling click of a hidden mechanism resetting, a new paradigm beginning to unfold, unnoticed and unheeded in the periphery, like a shadow lengthening imperceptibly across the court, portending an unseen dawn? Yet the whispers grew louder, didn't they? The anomalous became the frequent, the infrequent became the terrifyingly routine, an unnatural consistency that defied conventional understanding. What truly happened when the very definition of a good shot began to stretch, warp, and ultimately shatter, pulled by an invisible, relentless string to the furthest reaches of the perimeter, drawing all attention, all strategy, all defensive effort to the arc itself? Do we fully comprehend the silent terror, the creeping dread, of watching a player, with a release so impossibly quick, redefine the very concept of space on a basketball court, turning once stalwart defenders into helpless specters chasing phantoms, forever arriving a fraction of a second too late to contest the inevitable? Did you know that in his senior year of high school, despite his obvious talent, he only received scholarship offers from 3 Division I schools, none from a major conference, primarily due to concerns about his size and perceived athleticism? This overlooked beginning, this collective underestimation, concealed a coming tempest, a devastating force incubating unseen beneath the surface of expectation. What of the relentless, almost pathological off-ball movement, a constant, flickering presence that pulled defenses apart like threadbare fabric, creating vast, empty voids where solid, impenetrable walls once stood, leaving opponents bewildered and disoriented in a maze of their own making? Did it not feel like a peculiar form of sorcery, a violation of statistical probability, when he effortlessly drained a record 286 three-pointers in the 2014-15 season, only to shatter his own record the very next year with an unfathomable 402 makes, a feat previously considered mathematically impossible by many analysts, a number that seemed to mock the very essence of human limitation? This wasn't merely breaking records, it was a defiant, terrifying act of rewriting the very rules of what was believed to be possible, a recalibration of reality itself. And what then, of the deep three, the half-court heave transformed from a desperate, last-second prayer into a viable, legitimate offensive weapon, an arrow loosed from far beyond the perceived boundaries of engagement, striking with chilling precision. Was it not a chilling, unsettling revelation when teams, once content to battle valiantly in the trenches, in the familiar confines of the paint, began to mimic this newfound madness, extending their own offensive maps, stretching defenses thinner and thinner until they snapped, until the very integrity of team-wide defense began to fray at the edges? Consider this: before Stephen Curry's ascendancy, fewer than 50 players in NBA history had ever recorded a 50-40-90 shooting season, 50% field goal, 40% three-point, 90% free throw, a statistical unicorn so rare it bordered on myth. Curry achieved it twice in his career, making such efficient, high-volume shooting seem almost commonplace, thereby subtly, insidiously shifting the expectation for offensive greatness, raising the bar to an almost unreachable height. Did we not watch, in a state of growing unease, as the very geometry of the court seemed to contort around this single, unwavering force, drawing all attention, all strategy, all defensive effort to the arc, transforming the ancient heart of the game, the sacred painted area, into a vast, empty expanse, a hollowed-out shell of its former glory? The ultimate, inescapable key fact, the chilling truth that has settled like a cold, persistent dread upon the sport, is this: Stephen Curry did not merely change basketball, he fundamentally re-engineered its genetic code, introducing an indelible mutation that has altered its very essence. He proved, with an unnerving consistency, that volume, efficiency, and unprecedented range from beyond the arc could be the primary offensive engine, not a supplementary tactic, not a luxury, but the foundational pillar upon which entire championship aspirations could be built. He showed that the sacred tenets of post-play and mid-range dominance, once considered unassailable, were not only vulnerable but perhaps even obsolete, relics of a bygone era, whispered legends in a new, harsher reality. And in doing so, he unleashed an irreversible paradigm shift, a tide that cannot be turned back. The climax, the moment of true, unsettling revelation, arrived not with a single, dramatic shot, but with the slow, dawning realization that the game itself had become infected. The Curry effect spread like a virulent, unstoppable strain, compelling every coach, every general manager, every aspiring player, from the professional ranks to the humblest youth leagues, to re-evaluate their most fundamental beliefs, their cherished philosophies, their very approach to the sport. It was no longer about adapting to his individual greatness, it was about surrendering to a new, unsettling reality where the game's traditional strengths became inexplicable weaknesses, and its most cherished wisdom turned into a dangerous folly. The once familiar landscape mutated, twisting into something both recognizable and utterly alien, a distorted reflection of its former self. Defenders were forced to guard 30 feet from the basket, pulling them away from the paint, leaving it exposed, a hollow shell of its former glory, a sacrificial lamb offered to the altar of the three-point shot. The beauty of the diversified offense, the intricate artistry of multiple scoring threats, was slowly, inexorably consumed by the insatiable, burning hunger for the three-point barrage. It was a silent, creeping terror, the insidious erosion of what was, replaced by an optimized, ruthlessly efficient, yet strangely hollowed-out version of the sport. The game, once a grand symphony of varied instruments and harmonious movements, was slowly becoming a relentless, high-pitched crescendo of the three-point shot, an echoing, unnerving melody resonating into an uncertain, chilling future. So, to finally answer the unspoken question, the unsettling query that has lingered in the shadowed corners of our collective sports consciousness, like a ghost in the machine, the truth is, Stephen Curry is not just the greatest shooter who changed how basketball is played, he is the architect of a new, unsettling reality. He is the spectral force that dismantled the old gods of the court and ushered in an era defined by a weapon so potent, so universally adopted, so utterly dominant, that its omnipresence now feels like an existential weight, a pervasive pressure on every possession, every strategy. He didn't just break records, he broke the very mold of the sport, leaving us with a game that is forever altered, forever chasing the ghost of the deep shot, a game that now feels different. Unsettlingly different. He peeled back the familiar skin of tradition, revealing the leaner, colder, more efficient, yet undeniably less predictable bones of a new beast, a beast that now roams freely across the court. And that, in its essence, is the creeping dread he left behind. And still, the whispers continue.